Good morning. Thank you, everybody, for being here this morning. I am City Council Member Keith Powers. I'm the chair of the Committee on Criminal Justice. The bills we'll be hearing today are designed to accompany the vote on a land use action pursuant to the ULURP, which will permit the construction of 4 new borough-based jail facilities to replace the current jail facilities in the boroughs and on Rikers Island. We know that to close Rikers, we have to do more than build new jails. And we know that if we are to build new facilities, we must do everything in our power to ensure they are better than what we currently have, and that people are only sent there as an absolute last resort. That is why we're here today, and that's why we're hearing the pieces of legislation today.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Councilmember Stephen Levin, Chair of the Council's Committee on General Welfare. The time to close Rikers Island is now. The unconscionable treatment of people detained at the jail, including the abuse faced by women and trans and gender nonconforming residents, inhumane conditions, and the severe isolation of the island necessitates that we close it as soon as possible.
My name is Frederick Fusco. I'm the Legislative Chairman for the Correction Officers Benevolent Association. I am a New York City Correction Officer. I speak on the facts that where you see giving the right to decorate a cell, we see a security concern, but we're not against a reform. We see where you think about designing it with wood and ceramics as you would do such your home. We see weapons being made, carved out of wood and ceramics, where not only assault on staff is a concern, but also inmate on inmate assaults. Stabbings and slashings are up. Assaults on COs are up 37%. Sexual assaults on correction officers are up 3%. Violent inmate on inmate incidents are up 22%. The politicians have to stop putting the politics in front of the safety of New York City. From the uniform side to the civilian side, they need to look at, and I challenge them, create a balance where the advocates, the uniforms, all of us can live the way this beautiful city of New York lives, diverse and versatile, because that's who we are. We need to keep the public safe as well as ourselves.
I don't think anybody denies that you can make a weapon out of many different materials, but what do you recommend then?
My recommendation is to talk to the Department of Correction, talk to the security, and let them sit there and design a policy. It is harsh to see a cell that has nothing but metal and cement. But we're talking about the most violent people in New York City.
The 2 individuals that I saw in that restrictive housing unit that I spoke about that were handcuffed to the table, nobody was claiming that they had assaulted a staff member. The correction officers that I was with, and I was with a deputy warden, nobody was saying that they had.
But you're speculating to the audience that
no, I'm not.
Something else other than. See, listen, the Department of Correction.
Well, actually, nobody was able. I asked them at the time, why are they here? And nobody was actually able to give me a response, but they didn't say that they were there because they assaulted a corrections officer or that they were involved in any type of...
I'm sorry, but you're not part of the staff, so they clearly may not give you their manifest of why they are there.
I'll get the manifest. I'm not doing this to attack your COs. I actually had a productive conversation with every CO that I talked to.
Well, now that you say that, but you didn't say that 5 minutes ago when somebody else was up here and you were portraying to the audience when I asked the CO why he was here. Oh, I don't know. What time is he going to go back? Oh, I don't know what he's going to... Nobody made it pretty clear that they didn't know what they were doing.
I'm just telling you what happened, okay? I'm just saying publicly what happened.
I'm reiterating what you had said, sir.
I get it, okay? I'm not out here to make a judgment, okay? The COs that I spoke to all acknowledged that most of the people that were there shouldn't really be there. And that's clearly hearsay.
I mean, you're talking to an audience that
I was
playing to your audience.
I'm reporting. Look, again, I'm not making it.
Please do not put the politics in front of the public safety. See, if somebody is in ESH and they are handcuffed to a desk, they have multiple assaults and they have done slashings. That is not something to take lightly. That was done for your protection.
Yeah, it didn't-
So you can keep speculating and saying what they want to hear, but you're playing to your politics.
I'll make
So
sure
please
to get the
refrain from
information,
that.
and I'll contact
Please
you
do,
directly
sir.
about that.
Get to the
You're in the city council, okay? Right now, I'm going to ask a question. If you want to be here to answer, you can. I'm asking you a question.
Then,
So
sir,
just
perhaps you should read a government of the people, by the people,
yeah,
for the
that's
people.
right. That's right.
Don't
That's
forget
right.
that, please.
Right. I don't. My boss is the public. Those that elected me. Okay. That's my boss.
100%.
That's my boss. Those people that
100%.
elected me.
Exactly.
I'm Minister Dr. Victoria Phillips, but everyone calls me Miss V. And there was many things to actually speak on today, but I'm going to just give key points to all of the bills being presented. I joined the Jails Action Coalition in 2012 after being threatened by my current employer, well, not my current, but my employer then, to stop reporting to IG all of the barbaric treatments that I witnessed. We have a lot of cameras on Rikers now that us advocates, me, myself, have advocated for the last 8 years. But there are still many, many blind spots that the officers are aware of and they utilize. There are many women who are still being told you can't get a pad if you don't perform oral sex, and they're taken to those blind spots to do that. You have to close Rikers. There are so many issues with the structure, and that allows the officers to utilize those blind spots and different issues with structure to create harm, to bully people, to abuse humans.
My name is Adelaide Matthew Dickens. We don't need a commission designed to only have 5 directly impacted voices to think about communities. Fuck your commissions. Thousands of us have already told you what investments we need and where the money can come from.
My name is Sean Hudson, a member of No New Jails NYC and Take Back the Bronx. I want to start this off today by saying that jail reform is nothing more than a game of musical chairs inside of a burning house. This commission is nothing more than a distraction from the fact that neither you or Diana Ayala care about the fact that we are endlessly caging the city's black and brown people at an alarming rate. If you two truly cared about the communities of color, you would be going all out to invest every single penny of our tax money into things we actually need to be funded. But instead, you're holding our resources hostage until you shove new jails down our throats. All you two are doing is trying to whitewash New York City, and this jail plan is nothing more than ethnic Ajax. The last thing I want to say is for Diana Ayala, who, surprise, surprise, isn't here now. Diana, you've been nothing more than a deadbeat to your constituents in the Bronx. You got in your feelings because people like me hold your ass accountable each and every single time. It's funny how you start ducking hearings just like you're ducking today, but you won't have to duck anymore, because on behalf of Take Back the Bronx and No New Jails NYC, we're gonna make sure your ass doesn't hold any public office in this city ever again.
Hello, my name is Joel, and I'm with the No New Jails Coalition, a group which is one of the few here and consistently present that is not astroturfed by the mayor's office, big foundations like Open Society or the Ford Foundation, which, might I remind some of you, have boards of directors full of some of the rich who hold Darwinian, Malthusian philosophies that poor people should die off or otherwise be disposed of, hence new jails. I'm here to echo the sentiments of my comrades in saying close Rikers now and no new jails on stolen Lenape land. That career opportunists in New York City Council who co-opt radical progressive ethos can in one breath say the names of victims of the system and indeed seek the expansion of that same system, that you won't even stomach the willpower to concoct a solution to the crisis of mass incarceration that doesn't involve further entrenching criminalizing systems to the detriment of the needs of the vast majority of New York's working class and poor, which are people of color, indicates that the problem isn't that of you not being presented with better alternatives that the No New Jails Coalition actually has, but it's that your class incentives preclude it. $11 billion can easily go toward repairing NYCHA, toward housing, toward mental health programs, toward equal education, toward community programs that can act as an alternative to the brutality of New York's military occupation known as the NYPD. But instead, you only opt for the piecemeal solution of assembling a commission of organizations invested in the jail plan to just, look into it? The cynical attempt to reform these systems, that is, to form again carceral systems to be preserved generations down the line, utilizing pro-new jail, mayor's office-funded community nonprofits as a Trojan horse for this regressive process is nothing new. It's the same carrot and stick method the Pentagon uses whenever they invade a country and steal its resources. They send in the Army and the Peace Corps. We are tired of city officials playing with our tax dollars, playing with our lives, playing with our children's lives. To this day, there are absolutely no guarantees that the closure of Rikers will be binding on new political leadership. And the idea that the horrors of Rikers Island won't simply be exported to your friendly, hip, cosmopolitan, vegan diet Starbucks jails is nothing short of a pipe dream, if not an empty political promise. Vote no on this plan.
Hello, everybody. My name is Janelle Puzzle Nesbitt. In Bayview Correctional Facility, I spent 2 years there. Inside of a mental health cell from this situation, I was stripped naked, put in a cell with a camera, no tissue, no pen, no books, no soap, no toothpaste, no toothbrush, no shower, no lotion. Freezing cold, no panties to hold the bloody pad between my legs for the entire duration that I spent there. I ate with my hands.
My name is Wendy O'Shields. I'm an advocate in the City of New York and the co-founder of the Urban Justice Safety Net Activists. I'm opposed to Intro 1190 requiring the City of New York's Department of Social Services, DSS, and the Department of Homeless Services, DHS, to provide drug treatment services on site within DHS shelters. DHS will need to comply with many federal, New York State, and New York City laws to become licensed and accredited to legally handle and dispense narcotics to homeless residents if they consent.
Hi, my name is Peggy Herrera. I'm one of the leaders of the Close Rikers campaign.
I'm Anton Robinson from the Vera Institute of Justice. I'm here to testify in support of the bills proposed by the council today.
Thanks. My name is Noelle Fries. I'm a Master's of Public Health student at CUNY School of Public Health and a member of No New Jails.
Good afternoon. My name is Claire Shapiro, and I'm testifying on behalf of myself as a law student and future member of the legal profession, and on behalf of Brooklyn Law School's National Lawyers Guild. In addition, I want to say that I'm here standing with No New Jails.
Good afternoon. My name is Luke Figueredo Miller. I'm also testifying on behalf of the National Lawyer Guild chapter at Brooklyn Law School. I stand with No New Jails in rejecting each of these three bills.
Hey, my name is Calvin, and I'm a No New Jails member.
Hey, so my name is Brittany. I've testified before, and I just want to say that Mock J sat in front of all y'all faces with no fucking answers. No answers. You owe that much, at least to your constituents who you sit on this board claiming to serve. Am I right or wrong? Mock J had no answers for you. Totally disrespectful. And this is a call for everyone who is doing electoral politics. You need to vote these motherfuckers out and make sure they don't go anywhere else. Because they don't give a damn about you, and this meeting shows that. Secondly, if you change Rikers Island over, or these jails over to a new department, will that undo all of the sanctuary work for immigrants? And you actually think constituents should actually believe in you all about these borough-based jails? That they will be more humane, that the DOC will actually give a damn about people, calling them by their names. Have you all created accountability for the DOC within these bills to address the violence and to address the culture? You control their budget. How does that play into legislation? Lady K was literally handcuffed because she spoke with Layleen Polanco's lawyer. How are you going to hold the DOC accountable for that? You're talking like it's fucking normal. This shit is not normal. Listen, when we were in Queens and community board members, you all need to address this shit. Because you have undocumented people literally telling their stories about surveillance. And guess what? The nonprofits that y'all paid literally told them to shut the fuck up. Because these jails are already bought and sold. No, that tells us you don't give a fuck about us. Period. We got time today. All of y'all need to be out of office. It does not make any fucking sense. Mate don't have answers. You don't have answers. You've been ducking and dodging your constituents.
Okay, thank you for the testimony. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. That's the conclusion of our hearing today. Thank you.
My name is Carlos Menchaca. I'm the chair of the Immigration Committee. Today, the Committee on Immigration will be hearing intro 1706 in relation to prohibiting a smart chip from being added to the New York City identity card, ID NYC. On February 12, 2019, this committee held a hearing to celebrate the success of ID NYC program, and today the program has over 1.3 million cardholders. ID NYC literally opens doors. It grants access to city services that are difficult or impossible to access without identification. The card itself is secure. In May of 2018, the mayor's office released a request for information, an RFI. For the first time, the idea of adding a smart chip. After many months, I have come to the understanding that the risks associated with the mayor's proposal are too great. 1.3+ million cardholders, whose data is incredibly valuable to the private sector.
My name is Mizue Aizeki. I'm the Deputy Director of the Immigrant Defense Project. We've consulted with many of us with many different privacy and security experts, and I haven't encountered a single one, honestly, that has told me this is a good idea.
My name is Bita Mustofi. I'm the Commissioner of the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs. Since the launch of the ID NYC program, the city has sought to increase access to financial services to all New Yorkers, particularly low-income New Yorkers. Through partnerships with local banks and credit unions, ID NYC has helped thousands open accounts with their card. The reality is that there's still an immense need for better options, that there are hundreds of thousands of unbanked and underbanked households in New York City, with more than 11% of households entirely unbanked and over 20% underbanked. Living unbanked in a city like New York adds enormous financial strain to low-income families. Individuals without bank accounts must rely on alternative service providers, such as cash checking, to manage their money. These providers charge high predatory fees for services, which are unavoidable for those without alternatives. We have also learned that fees associated with standard bank accounts drive many low-income individuals away from these services. In focus groups we held, several groups and participants reported that they had abandoned their financial accounts after being charged a number of unexpected fees.
And we heard today from you and from the panels, most of the panels, and the letter that we just got with 60+ people, and it's probably going to grow, is that that's the one thing that we cannot lose in this card, and that this card functions for a reason, and that there's still not enough reason for us to marry this concept of this financial product that they are so excited about to build on top of a 1.3 million person pool of people, and it begs the question, is this the role of government? With that said, thank you so much. And this hearing is over.
Okay, you have extras? Yes, take. Don't make me.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Councilmember Rafael Espinal, and I'm the chair of the Committee on Consumer Affairs and Business Licensing. I'm joined today by my colleagues on the committee. We have Peter Koo from Queens, and we have Justin Brannon from Brooklyn. In today's hearing, we will hear testimony on Councilmember Brannon's bill, intro number 1657, that looks to prohibit street vending on certain streets in Dyker Heights, beginning on Thanksgiving Day until New Year's Day. Street vendors are crucial to the fabric of New York City. They also contribute markedly to the city's economy. A 2012 study concluded that the direct effect of street vendors could be estimated to be more than 16,000 jobs, $78.5 million in wages, and an $82 million economy. Street vending is also a vital source of income for many people, especially newly arrived or long-term immigrants. Traditional brick-and-mortar outlets are typically cost-prohibitive for people entering the market, but street vending offers an entrepreneur alternative and an avenue for economic independence. Despite their benefits, street vending in New York City is also contentious. As the most densely populated city in the country, street and sidewalk space in New York is a rare and valuable commodity. However, vending is usually not a problem in predominantly residential neighborhoods that lack foot traffic. An exception to this is Dyker Heights during the holiday season. It has become a tradition for residents of this neighborhood to adorn their homes in festive lights and decorations. The event has become so popular over the last few years that it now attracts a whopping 150,000 visitors each season. And with these crowds, of course, come the savvy street vendors, keen to capitalize on the increased foot traffic. Who can blame them? While we admire their entrepreneurial spirit, we have to make sure that the residents of Dyker Heights can still go about their regular day-to-day activities. Unfortunately, we have heard numerous complaints about food trucks blocking driveways, vendors operating illegally, increased garbage, and fumes and pollution from vendor trucks and carts. For this reason, Intro 1657 seeks to establish street vending restrictions in parts of Dyker Heights during this particularly busy time. We look forward today to hear from the administration, Dyker Heights residents, and businesses, as well as street vendors themselves, about their recommendations regarding this bill. I'd like to invite the bill sponsor, Councilmember Brannon, to say a few words.
Thank you, Chair Espinal, for hearing this bill today. But local residents who for so many years have loved viewing the Christmas light displays now feel completely overwhelmed by these tour buses that bring hundreds of thousands of tourists and a parade of ice cream trucks and street vendors that combine to cause a traffic congestion Christmas nightmare. This creates a month-long street festival-like atmosphere in this otherwise quaint residential neighborhood. Some say they feel like prisoners in their own homes and have to schedule their daily lives around the tour buses and tourists who are not always mindful or respectful of private property and driveways. Others complain of being literally choked by ice cream trucks that idle for 10 hours a day, 7 days a week outside their house. NYPD maintain that charter buses are exempt from NYC DOT rules and therefore can traverse local residential streets with sugar plum impunity.
Good morning. My name is Ellen Canfield. I'm the Executive Director of the Mayor's Office of Citywide Event Coordination and Management. I'm joined this morning by Captain Robert Conwell of the 68th Precinct in Brooklyn, which covers Dyker Heights.
Any challenges that the NYPD might have had with enforcement in the area?
The NYPD issued a handful of violations last year to vending. The majority of those violations were oath summonses, some were parking summonses, and they were really in regards to distances. So we found early on that the same 4 food trucks that were there were licensed. So they were licensed and their trucks were properly licensed, but the violations we issued early on dealt with distances from driveways, fire hydrants, crosswalks, and front homes. Once we started issuing those summonses, what the vendors did then was find places where they were not in violation of those laws.
Do you feel that if this bill is passed, it will give the cops the tools they need to enforce what we're looking to enforce?
Well, I mean, in terms of SAPO, I don't think this bill would change the calculus around SAPO because the SAPO requires some on-street activity, which isn't happening on the Dyker Heights event. I do think, and Captain Conwell can correct me if I'm wrong, or that.
Yeah, look, if the bill makes it illegal to vend in that area, absolutely, 100% it'll help us enforce that.
The issue that we have is that when a resident or someone thinks that a food vendor might be out of order or breaking the law, it touches so many different agencies that sometimes whoever responds to it, whether not just the cops, whether it's DOH goes out there or FDNY, whoever it is, it's hard to figure out what laws they're breaking and who can enforce those laws and who can write a ticket for them. I mean, has there been any discussion around trying to consolidate that a little bit?
I think there is a multi-agency, at least around the lights effort, that your office is leading to address all these issues, not just vending, but traffic and the fumes, and making sure this is, the NYPD's primary goal is safety of all the people who are there, the 150,000 people, getting them in and out and safely. So there's a multi-agency effort around this, and I understand vending in general is very complicated outside of this event.
Good morning. My name is Barbara Vellucci.
I am on the executive board of Community Board 10 and of Dyker Heights Civic Association. We need to remember that this area is a residential community and not an amusement park. It must be understood that this is an organic event occurring as a result of homeowners expressing their faith and joy for the season that has turned into a full-blown New York City event. However, because New York City does not recognize Dyker Lights as an actual event under the permitting process, it has become more and more difficult to manage and has caused a tremendous strain on this community. Vending has an overwhelming negative impact by creating choke points on sidewalks and streets, as well as litter, air, and noise pollution. The presence of vendors produces a commercial-like atmosphere that does not belong in a residential community. On behalf of the members of the Dyker Heights Civic Association and the Dyker Heights community, Fran, I ask that the community positively consider intro number 1657 and that the full council vote to make it law.
Thank you so much for testifying. I don't have any questions, but I just want to assure you that Justin's doing everything he can to get this bill passed. We actually put this bill on the agenda as early as we can so that we can get into effect before this holiday season. Thank you all. Thanks for testifying.
Thank you.
With that said, this hearing is adjourned. Thank you.
LU 548 is an application submitted by the Department of Transportation, the Department of Environmental Protection, and the Department of Citywide Administrative Services in Councilmember Rivera, Chin, and Powers District for a flood protection system. LU 549 is a related application submitted by the New York City Department of Small Business Services, special regulations applying to the waterfront area of the zoning resolution of the City of New York, modifying special regulations for zoning lots that include parks located in a marginal street, wharf, or place in an M1-1 district in Manhattan Community District 6. The East Side Coastal Resiliency Project, or ESCR, is the first of its kind in New York. This comprehensive flood protection system along the East River in Manhattan seeks to provide critical flood protection to more than 110,000 vulnerable New Yorkers. As the project has evolved over several years, communication of design changes has not always been clear. This has been an unfortunate part of the process. However, the need for flood protection is dire and time is of the essence. In the face of a changing climate, what sacrifices must be made in order to protect our community? I know this process has not been easy, and your council members have been fighting very, very hard to ensure that the impacts to the community during construction are lessened as much as possible.
It's fitting that we are holding today's hearing just days after thousands of New Yorkers participated in the Fridays for Future global climate strike. And even though one of our two major political parties is still debating whether climate change exists, it's clear to most of us in this city surrounded by water that our very survival depends on bold solutions. Later this month, we will all mark the 7th anniversary of when we first felt climate change impact our homes, the day Hurricane Sandy made landfall. While the memory of that terrible storm has faded for many Americans, the effects of the storm and what it did to the east side of Manhattan and the 5 boroughs can still be seen and felt today. Our neighborhood and many others are still recovering and rebuilding from the $19 billion in damage and economic losses that Sandy wrought. And for the families of the 43 New Yorkers who lost their lives, they will never truly be healed. But I also expect the mayor's office to provide further updates to us today on a number of issues that have not been addressed sufficiently. This includes interim flood protection measures, IFPM, during construction of ESCR. In a letter to our offices, DDC Commissioner Lorraine Grillo wrote that an analysis of existing conditions did not find IFPM to be an effective solution for the ESCR area. While IFPM may not be designed to protect neighborhoods from Sandy-level events, they can ensure critical infrastructure remains operational during more frequent, less severe storms, and we want more details to the analysis that led to your findings. Thank you.
I am Doris Huff. I am the TA president on NYCC/private side of Campus One. I have a total units of 269 units, a total of 924 residents. I am in support of the East Coastal Resiliency project that needs to be started now, not covering it up, fixing it in 2023. I live right in front of Con Edison. When those transformers blew, I was right there. When that water was coming, we were right there. I care more about lives than having this happen a year from now, 2 years from now. What y'all gonna tell us? Sorry, we're dead? Sorry, only people are dead? It's ridiculous. And I'm gonna hold people responsible for it. It doesn't make sense.
Hi, my name is Kendra Kruger. I am an engineer, scientist, and educator, and I have expertise in sustainability and regenerative design. I'm opposing the current plan because I feel as though it fails to address that resiliency is not just about protecting ourselves from climate change, but it's also about healing our environment and our communities so that these crises will not continue to threaten us and our descendants. Yes, it is a complex issue. Yes, there is urgency, unknowns, uncertainty, but this should not curb our creativity. It should fuel it. Yes, this is an opportunity to create an extraordinary design, to be a global leader in scientific, environmental, and social progressiveness. It's no coincidence that most of the public housing in the city is in environmentally compromised areas such as flood zones and polluted lands, such as the gas plant that is underneath the Reese housing that is right across the street from the East River Park. There is research and science and resources that are available that people are studying here in New York at some of our world-class research institutes. What are we going to sacrifice, and what are the city officials going to sacrifice? And those sacrifices shouldn't be made by our community or for our environment, by those who don't have the imagination to have courage to find extraordinary solutions.
Thank you so much.
By a vote of 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, with 0 abstentions, all items are approved for referral to the full Land Use Committee, and the vote is closed.
I'd like to thank my colleagues, Councilmember Rivera, Chin, and Powers especially, Council and Land Use staff for attending today's hearing and all of their dedication to this work today. This meeting is hereby adjourned.